I had a dream last night, and this tractor was in it briefly, and of course, it was sitting in parts, not running. So, what's new?
That sounds like a nightmare.
Yeah, it was.
Well, this feels like deja vu. Fortunately, we got a new head gasket for this. I had to order some from Cat for Lefty over there, and I got one ordered. They're back ordered, so they're 45 days out. I actually found a new old stock, copper one. Should be coming here from England. Well, we can do it to get the belt on. That belt needs replaced.
Yes, dry. We're not leaving that on there. It probably would run, but...
Well, now's the time.
For the main belt, we're using the 6B 1039, just like on Lefty. And yes, Cat still has those.
We might have to loosen the firewall.
I think you got to take the firewall.
Yeah.
I wouldn't... The governor ain't the problem. It's the firewall.
Yeah. Well, we'll get it.
Yeah.
For the pony motor, we're using the 1N4635, and this works perfect on these old style... that have the lack of adjustment on the governor. We'll take the pin out of the throttle. We're going to have to pull the firewall off. And here's what I was talking about the governor. There's no slots in this. I think there's maybe one up front so you can kind of swivel it back and forth like this. Very interesting on this early governor that they have this spring enclosed in here. While we got this off, I'll pull the screws out of the front and check the oil in there. We'll cover the motor up just to keep it a little cleaner.
And if anybody's worried about Lefty over here, yes, I dumped marble in all those cylinders and soaked it. Not much we can do about it right now.
Dad's going to pull the air breather for the pony motor. I'm going to disconnect the linkage. There's the 2 bolts down here, and there's these ones that go right here into the side of the firewall, and there's one down here lower that goes into the bottom of the firewall.
Dad's been searching for wrenches around here. He can't find anything. Watch, he's going to say, we need to clean this place up. I can't find anything.
We need to clean this place up. I can't find any tools.
Dad's going to undo the oil gauge, and yeah, there's no water temperature on this early RD4.
Dad says that's not good, but considering how hard he runs things, that's probably true, right?
I run them harder than you do.
He does. That's because I have to fix them.
These are the 2 bolts in the top of the sidewall. They got nuts on them, and then there's one clear down in the bottom. These are my least favorite ones to get out of here.
Yeah, I'll say.
And now my least favorite one, which is right here in line with the tracks.
There.
And with a really long extension, you can reach through the track chains here.
If it's lined up. It's a coarse thread.
Oh, it is. Well, let me put this aside, and we'll put an official Cat bolt in there when we go back together. Going to take the fuel line off the carburetor.
Ooh, that's loose.
It comes through here.
You got it.
Yep. When we go back on, we're going to put an extra valve in here like I did on Lefty.
For a minute, we were both thinking maybe we should pull the carburetor off of here and rebuild it, but everything's free, so we're gonna just go the if it ain't broke, don't fix it route.
We got to go back towards the operator and then up because there's a plug in here for the pony motor.
Keep going on. There we go.
I got it.
You got it?
Yep. Look at this.
Ooh. You know what? I wonder if we need a governor bearings in that boy.
Yeah, maybe. I'll pull it out, take it up on the bench, take it apart. Dad and I were just laughing that this is one of those things that the further we go, the further we want to keep going.
Well, that belt definitely needs to be fixed.
We'll fix this governor too. Just pulled the pin out of this linkage, going to the carburetor, and I'll finish getting the bolt out down in here. We can get this governor off. That's a long bolt. Like 3-inch bolt.
Yeah, and that's not a Cat one, like you said. Now see if you can get that guy out.
No.
How's that gonna work?
I don't know, it just stays in there, I guess. You can see the bolt interferes with that exhaust manifold. So this is something they changed on Lefty over here. No, this is the same way, but they put a nut on it with a stud. But this exhaust manifold exits a little bit of a 45 degree.
And you see how this is angled down?
It's down and straight out.
That one is horizontal coming out. Remove the exhaust manifold first, or cut this head off.
I think when we go back on, we should put a stud.
I do too.
With a nut.
Absolutely. But we're also going to have more clearance here.
Yeah, and pardon the stove, folks. It's cold outside, but we're going to take this exhaust manifold off. It's broken here anyway, and Dad's going to put that one with the flapper on it from the other RD4.
That's what we bought them for.
For parts. Now we're going to take the carburetor off so that we can get to these exhaust manifold bolts on here. And this is the pony motor we just pulled off of RD4 6667 that had that flapper on it. If we can get this exhaust manifold off of here, we can put that on 238 and put the flapper back on. We can clean it up and paint it too. You're getting lucky. So we got those two loose. These are actually a 5/8. They're a little off even from a 5/8, which is weird.
They're small for a 5/8 and too big for 9/16.
And it's a strange size 5/8 for this machine, because generally most things on here are 9/16 or 3/4. Pull this off too so I can get to this nut back there on the manifold. What we don't want to do is pull this magneto off of here unless we absolutely have to, because it is going to be difficult to time it correctly. There's no way to see where it's timed on this early pony motor. As opposed to Lefty over here, there's actually a hole right here I got tape over that you can see your timing marks on the magneto. We've got to take all this apparatus off the top of the carburetor, and then there's studs with nuts on them on the bottom of the carburetor. None of this is easy to get apart. And I'll take this off of here too.
How are we gonna get that off of there?
We really lucked out here. All of them came loose. Just a long-winded job with a crow's foot to get that last one back there by the backside of the carburetor. In 1936, did they even have crow's foots?
Sure.
Probably. I thought you had a Armstrong and a Billings open-end wrench, period.
Yeah.
Of course, then they only fixed what needed fixed, unlike us that just want to fix everything. This all feels like deja vu, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, to get the carburetor off, it's unscrew the nut a little bit, pull it up, unscrew the nut.
There we go. There we go.
Yep. We got the governor off. The problem is that bolt is so long that you can't really get that off of there with the exhaust manifold on. So to get the governor off, exhaust manifold has to come off. There's virtually no adjustment in these governors here. The holes are slightly egged out, but that belt is that belt, and that belt is what you get for adjustment. I'll start up here and take the cover off the front of the governor. Problem with these governors is there's no way to service it with the firewall on there, and it's a lot of work, as you probably just saw, to get that firewall off. This has not been serviced or oiled in a long time, and you can see dust came out of there when I opened this up. I'm going to take these 4 screws out of the back of the governor here so we can get it apart. It's been actually really nice that none of this stuff has came out super hard, because it's not as rusty as Lefty was. So there's actually a little bitty bearing inside of there. It doesn't feel terrible. I might be able to get away with leaving that one alone, but I do need to pull that shaft out of it so that I can get to this nut here and get that loose. And there's that little bearing. It just press fits inside of here. I'll have to pop that off gently. And this one's not in terrible shape, so I'll take it out, clean it up, pack it with grease. I just gently wiggled that off of there with a couple of screwdrivers. So now that stem, yeah, should pull right out of there. If I remember correctly, I've got a tool over on the welding bench, I think for a grinder, that fit in those perfectly to take that nut off of there. So there's the wrench, and it actually fits right in there perfectly. And you have to have gently clamped it in the vise here in these brass jaws so that I can get this to turn. These bearings in here don't seem very good. Nice that none of this is as stuck as it was on Lefty. This was a nightmare to get apart on Lefty. It was just gummed up completely.
What do I do with my putty knife? All right, I can go to cleaning.
Dad makes me yell action before I start recording, but it don't stop him.
And there's a fold-over lock in there I need to get out.
It was at this moment that he knew.
I may have forgot to unfold that before I tried to unscrew it, but I saved it and it's still got some teeth left on it. And this bearing is shot, and some of the ball bearings are missing out of the bearing. It's shelled, so we'll have to look for some new ones. In fact, you can see where it came apart here, and a ball bearing probably come loose. Bearing they got in the back here is an 88504. I got one ordered. I'm going to go ahead and punch this out of here. So the bearing here is an 88504. I was actually able to find on the outside of this cage what's left of it, which is exactly the same as the one in the back, an 88504. And both of those at one time were sealed bearings. So I got a couple of those ordered. And I do recall when I did the one on Lefty, this was a little bit bigger bearing in the front than in the back. I know they were two different ones, but these two are the same.
Kind of a struggle to get that inner part of that bearing off the shaft on that governor, but Dad ended up just nipping it with the torch so we can get it off of there. The other ones I had enough room to get something under it and press them. But while he was working on that, I got the exhaust manifold off the other pony motor so we can get it cleaned up and switch them out. Got a bunch of stuff ordered. I had some spark plugs. I ordered wires from the Brillman company again, and I got a couple extra sets for Wheezy and when we do Carl. So that'll be ready. We got the carburetor and everything off that other pony motor. We'll get it cleaned up. And when I get some spare time, I'll rebuild it so I have a rebuilt one on the shelf ready to go if we need it. Dad is having a dirty shop meltdown, so we're going to pause things and take a time out and clean up the shop and put tools away.
Yes, absolutely.
Dad just cleaned up the exhaust manifold. Looks good. We'll get some paint on it. It'll work just fine.
We got the governor stripped apart. We're just kind of polishing it up a little bit, and we'll put it together when all the parts get here. If the situation with Lefty's head has taught us anything, it's it. Right now, I'm sorry, folks, I can't afford to sell any parts. We're holding on to everything till we get all of our projects done. And we also want to maintain a little bit of stock just in case we have issues. So for now, yeah, we're holding on to everything.
You might remember we had trouble getting the governor off of here because they had those long 3-inch bolts. I've taken the studs out of the other pony motor off the RD4. I'm going to put those in here. That'll be a lot easier. Okay, we're ready for the governor.
I can clean some stuff in here.
Yeah, so Dad's taking the side panel off. Since we're in D4 head limbo, we're gonna just replace the belt on the RD4 and do a few things on this.
Do some cleaning.
Cleaning, of course. Cleaner's gotta clean.
That's right.
And look at this. Genuine cat bolts in these side panels, too. Definitely a 1936 casting on the engine block for
Is
this.
it?
Yeah. Oh, more of my friends up there. Look at that. Not that. Ow!
Yeah, we'll get those guys out of there.
Yeah. And there's some on that other side in the corner, too. So, these early 4Gs, RD4s, they have the one-piece fan shroud. Lefty had it, too. In the 7Js, they were a two-piece. Oh, we got mice in there, too. That's one of our shop rags. Or his.
Yeah, that ain't ours.
Look at all the mice. Ugh.
Yeah.
Mice and wasps, two of my favorite things.
Lefty likes flaxseed, and then looks like the early RD4s like wasps.
We're going to put a little penetrating oil in there. And I got that out and cleaned it up. Not stuck at all. It's nice. And we might just cut this belt off. We don't like to do that, but we might cut it off so that we can screw this in and then work it back out on these threads. Because I can't get it to go loose. And I'm suspecting it's because of the paint that's on there. I love these things, but these were another one of those awesome Sears things that they don't make anymore. There. Okay. I think that thing's screwed in as far as it'll go, I think.
It's pretty
Yeah.
pretty dry rot.
Oh yeah, that thing's toast. Well, did we just hose ourselves and cut a
No,
belt?
I think it's fine.
Yeah, we're
I
good.
think it's fine. Yeah, this one's pretty dry rot.
It's toast.
It's been on there not a few years, but probably a few decades.
Probably when they did this McCoy overhaul and painted it and everything.
Now let's roll it.
Dad's hammer trick works, so that got it to move, surprisingly.
Keep rolling it in.
Yeah.
Here. Go ahead.
We wire brushed the inside of this too. We're going to screw it back and forth and put more penetrating oil in it. It'll be fine. All right, with a little bit of working back and forth, we got it loose. We can put our belt on here. I'm going to orient the numbers the same way I did on Lefty. And I guess this is going to be fun.
That's what I thought.
Oh, it's not.
Yeah, you got to go through all of them.
Yeah, I know. This is a design flaw. You could see there's a little cap on the end of that fan. We got to sneak that belt behind it somehow there. Obviously, when we did the one on Lefty here, the radiator wasn't on here, so not that big of a deal. You could see here on head case that they damaged the radiator pushing that in to get a belt on it at some point.
This belt's toast.
Yeah, that's toast too. And look, they converted this to a rubber hose from the bottom of the water pump, and look at it rubbing on the crank pulley down there. That is not a good upgrade.
So I just looked in the service book and, yeah. So over on Lefty's radiator, it's got just enough more room that you can make it fit. We are literally going to have to remove the radiator.
That belt on your RD4 can be replaced with 3 easy steps. Simply remove the radiator first. Now, install the belt. Great job, Greg. Next, reinstall the radiator. Aaron and Greg, you're well on your way to becoming Caterpillar technicians. Remember, it's just as easy as 1, 2, 3.
When they did the overhaul, look, we got freshly painted grease under there from back in the day. Wanted to show everybody that at the time they did the what they call the McCoy overhaul on this tractor, they used genuine Cat bolts. So I guess if you knew what that head stamp on that bolt was, you could probably gauge when they did this rebuild. And we're not going to worry about the bearings. They're fine in this thing, and we'll just simply put this back together. We're going to turn this engine just to get it in a different place. We want to put a little Marvel mystery oil in there first.
Roll them down so they're down a couple inches and we'll leave it be. That'll be fine.
That engine is tight, that's for sure. And those sleeves are the best I've seen on a tractor.
On one this old.
Yeah. I'm going to clean up this governor, put the new bearings in here, press them on here, and service this with a little bit of oil and grease. What was inside of here before when we took it apart was a sealed bearing, just like this. This is an 88504, but the box number is an ISO 9002. I don't know. But they're the same thing. They fit, same dimensions. I'm going to also put oil in between in this compartment. Even though these are sealed, there's a lot of stuff that's inside of there that's still going to need oil. I'm just going to take this over on the press and press this bearing down onto here.
We have a pencil sharpener in our shop because Dad is a boomer.
I'm old school. So you know what the Russians' answer to the space pen was that we did months of research and development when we started the space program?
Yeah, pencil.
A pencil.
Dad likes pencils. There's pencils everywhere. Why is he sharpening a pencil, you ask? Well, because he's back to
Gasket work.
And that is for the front of the governor.
We've also got to make gaskets for up here on the top of the water pump, over here to the fuel tower, and down here into the bottom of the radiator tank.
And if you'll remember correctly, the one that goes in the bottom of the radiator tank, the book calls for a double gasket, so it's going to need a super thick gasket.
Up next, the 3B2096 gasket on the back. Here's the governor. This is the pony motor exhaust we got off the other RD4, and the cool flapper cap Dad's going to put on. He's cleaning up bolts. I think the plan, I'm going to go ahead and put the main fan belt on here. And then I think we're going to put the head on here. I've got some gaskets ready for the upper water neck here. Once we get the head on,
I think we're almost pretty much ready for that.
Yeah, I think it'll be easier since we have this off anyway. Gives us a lot better access to put the head on. Remind folks they got to screw this nut down, or bolt. There's two flats 180 degrees opposite on this fan hub with this flat slot in it, so that goes down on there.
Yep, it's got a kind of a tapered end there, and it goes down onto a milled out slot.
You can maybe see the flat right there, but what a lot of people do, they'll run it up here and run that down on the circumference part, and it doesn't hold.
No,
it ruins the bolt and it ruins your hub.
Threads, and
so always be sure you're on this flat right here when you screw this guy in.
It wrecks your threads too. I mean,
yes.
You won't be able to unscrew that nut if you wreck the threads with that jam nut and stop bolt.
But they give you 180. A little more.
Remember, it's cold.
A little tighter.
Yeah.
How's that?
I'd give it a little more.
I got to find a flat here to put it on.
Basically, you can go 180.
Let me leave this up here so we can work it better. Right there's a flat. How's that?
Let's do that. So there's a spring Dad made, and here's the spring that was in it, which was pretty well shot.
I don't know if that's enough tension or not.
You could take out a coil.
Yeah.
We're fixing to put the head on here next, and I wanted to address something that came up in the comments about the gasket that goes in between the pony motor and the head, and it's something I did incorrectly on Lefty. I put the wrong one. Now it doesn't matter. I'm going to remedy that, but I learned a lesson. There are two distinct gaskets, and here's one of them. You can see it's got a taper on each side, and that is a 5B7780. Then there is a 3B7978. And the reason it is different is because it is just a flat flange on one side and a taper on the other. And that taper on the one side can fit very nicely in the groove on the pony motor intake manifold. Some heads for some tractors have the corresponding groove on the end of the head. However, you can see on this 7J head that it is just flat and flush. There's no provisions for a taper like as on this gasket. That is why you use the flat flange gasket on this side on the head. I did use the double taper one over here on Lefty, but the proper one would have been the 3B7978, and that's what we're going to go back together on Lefty with, and that's what's going to go on Dad's RD4 because that's proper. A lot of these parts in these early tractors, these early D4s, and this probably goes for all models of Caterpillar, they're not universal. What may have went on this tractor may have ended at this serial number on this tractor, and it's very important to check the parts book. And the beauty of Cat is they labeled everything with a part number so you can cross-reference things too. Some parts will work. For example, we used a 7J block and a 4G head on Lefty, and they worked. But that's not always the case, so you really have to look and see what you have. You have to check the parts books and see what it's supposed to have. and there's no way of knowing if somebody may have changed it. So that is the difference in the seals between the pony motor and the main engine, and why it's important. And I made the mistake too. I used the wrong seal. It worked. Like, it held, it's sealed, no big deal. But this is a proper seal with the flat flange on one side and kind of the milled out donut on the other side. That is why I was reluctant to just throw out part numbers to somebody, because I didn't want them to get into the same bind that I ended up in.
So there's the difference. The double taper 5B7780 and the single taper 3B7978. You happy with it?
Yeah, we'll try this.
Dad tightened it up another coil. We were given advice a long time ago is that you want a new spring on there and you just want to wind that thing up to about where it hurts your ears.
$3,000.
We need to get the radiator off of Goliath
so that we can use it to put the head on this RD4. And I got to put all of the head studs in too.
We are sorting out head studs to find the best out of 3 batches over there. And I'll start putting those in. Let's get those head studs in here. That's done.
We're going down a rabbit hole again, aren't we?
Yes.
Yeah, we're finding more and more things we want to fix. That pinion's not camming over and snapping in, so we're going to pull the side cover off of that and see if it's just out of adjustment or if it's something that we need to get into further. Now's the time while we can disconnect the pony motor and tilt it up. Much easier than if the head was on here.
This top cover, I was looking at the casting code. The part number's completely different. This one was actually cast in 1935, so before the RD4 line started production. On the floorboard over here on lefty, you can see that tiny little bolt head sticking out there. If you take this front floor pan off, there's actually a round little access cover to the back of the pinion, so you can release it if you need to disengage it.
The one on Whiskers, our RD4 over here, is stuck engaged, so let me show you, you can't get to it. So we tried
reaching in through back there. That's pretty hard to do, but there's no access hole in here.
There's
the
oil
oil
in
is below that plug you took out. So yeah, there's good oil in it.
See, on lefty over there, there's a plug on the very bottom, I believe, to drain the oil out.
Lefty's got a plug right here to drain it.
Right.
But the RD4, you have to take the front cap off.
Right.
There's the little plunger right there by my finger you need to pull out to turn that and adjust it. We're going to mess with it a little bit. For once, I was able to just adjust this, and it took, looking from the front of the machine, I adjusted it counterclockwise, 4 notches, and now it dogs right in, and
It takes a little more than your fingers. There. It's
see?
out.
Go ahead and put it in for everybody. See?
Here it snaps.
Snaps right in.
And
okay.
Then snap it out.
So we don't have to mess with the pony motor stuff. We can go forward and put our head on here.
I forgot to mention earlier, when we installed all the studs, we measure them, we torque them down, we check them, and they're all out about 5.4 inches. That's naturally where they end up and they wanted to land. We also got to thinking about our fan belt conundrum here. I don't think there's enough room to even pull the cap off the front of the fan on the RD4 to get the belt on here. So I honestly think the only way to get the belt on these earlier ones is to pull the radiator off. Perhaps the early Cat belts were not quite as thick, but you can see on all of these machines where people have tried and they've damaged the inside of the radiator core by trying to put a new belt in there.
Oh, look at that beautiful gasket.
It is beautiful, isn't it?
Yeah. I'll give you an A. Just an A, not an A+.
Now we got to figure out how to get this in there.
What'd you drop?
I dropped my bolt.
Mr. Magnet.
Got things in the wrong hand.
Well, I can't help you with that. Here's your bolt. It's magnetized now for you. Let's put you away, Mr. Magnet. Oh, yeah, look at that.
Nice.
Huh.
That was all me. I did that. Okay. I've promised to put the head on here several times, but we got sidetracked again. because Dad.
Yeah, but we fixed our starter pinion. It works nice.
Well,
now.
I mean that one, but
Cleaned it all up. I made a gasket. We know it's got oil in it. It's okay. We're
but
not
now
in a hurry.
the cleaner wants to clean all of this.
Yes, I do.
So we're cleaning this, and I'm going to take the magneto wires off because we got new ones, and it'll be easier to clean. And they've got this adorable little clamp right here at the bottom of the magneto for some reason. Do I need some cleaner music for cleaner?
Yeah.
So obviously the stuff on the back of the pony motor didn't get a lot of paint on it, and I've yet to find a casting number on this pony motor block.
You're a lousy cleaner. Look at my side compared to yours.
Well, I mean...
Yeah, you got a long ways to go to become a master cleaner.
All right. This head gasket is a 4B3052. Now, this is a new old stock Fitzgerald, and I've not been able to really make out the number. I think it's a 01451 or OI45I. Not quite sure.
That head gasket came with this machine, so we're going to go ahead and use it. We're going to use a standard torque sequence working from the middle outward in each direction. And we're also going to torque everything. I'm going to go around the first go around at 90 foot-pounds, and then the second go around I'm going to go to 130. Obviously, we're going to need to start this, warm it up, get it to operating temperature, and then reset the valves and retorque the head. And according to the book, that's supposed to be done within 10 minutes of shutting down after reaching operating temperature. We're also going to squirt just a little bit of oil on those cylinder walls. I don't know, just to be on the safe side.
There she goes.
Oh, coming up on compression. There we go.
That's probably pretty good there.
We've got to put the 3V7978 gasket between the pony motor intake and the head. This head's got the valves done, the seats done, the head's planed, the pre-cups have been all redone. I did those with the new, took them out and put them in. So this head's ready to go. It's also been magnafluxed and checked.
This is a little different step that we're going to do here on this head gasket, and this is on the advice of a person that's done way more of these than Dad and I. So we're going to spray this head gasket with this copper coat gasket compound. It's for the hard surfaces like not cork or not gasket material. We'll spray both sides. We'll gently put it on there, and then we'll lower the head down on and torque everything down. If you're wondering why we didn't do that on Lefty, it's because Lefty had the newer style, composite style gasket, and I don't have any of those at the moment, so that's what we're going to do.
For that gasket that goes back here to the pony motor, we're going to use a little bit of tire lube on the head side, so hopefully this will slide right in there.
When we get ready to do that, I'll do both surfaces.
Very nice. We got that head on there. Everything went very, very well. That lube on here, this slid right in place. We had to just get up there and put a little extra weight, a little persuasion, and it slid down right in place like it's supposed to. I like the spray gasket material. I think that's going to work just fine. I don't think it's going to hurt anything. So here we are. Okay, Dad, let's cover this thing up and call it a day.
Yes, let's do.
Well, that's the RD4, one step closer. I do want to thank you for watching, and we'll see you on the next one. By the way, Dad named this tractor. We're calling it Whiskers. I was flattered that he named it after my mustache, so I really appreciate that. Dad. Really, what he named it after was it's an homage to the kitties with the little cats we have running around here. I'm driving you nuts, aren't I?
It's this. The RD4, the Whiskers on the RD4 radiator. That's why we're naming it Whiskers.
Oh, I thought you were just being nice to me.
No. Why would I be nice to you?
That's a very dad thing to say. Gotta stay hydrated. It's kind of hard with a mustache, but yeah. I've drank beer with a straw because of this mustache. I have to make a lot of accommodations in my life because of this mustache.
Tire lube.